go?
Yep.
Great. Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order. This is the Winhall Town School District Board meeting. It is Tuesday, November 19th. And I'm Jennifer Samuelson, Chair of the State or School Board, joined by Meredith Dennis and Dean. You're here as well, correct? Dean Giannotti?
Yes, I'm here.
Great. And then we also have Randy Lowe and Sue Wilburn from the RSU. So with that, are there any members of the public who wish to be heard? Not hearing any. No. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of our March 19th, 2024 meeting. Moved by Meredith.
Second.
Seconded by Dean. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes of our March 19th, 2024 meeting, please raise your hand and signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, it passes unanimously. And with that, I will turn it over to Randy for the report of the superintendent.
Okay, thank you. So I will turn it over to Sue to get us going. We're going to start. This is a time of year where we're talking about budget. So we have not yet talked about fiscal year 24 year end. So the year that ended June 30th of 24. We're going to talk about the budget, and then we'll talk about anticipated FY25, the year that we're in, and the budget proposed for FY26. So we're going to do, usually these are held over multiple meetings. We're going to do them all at once. We'll start with year end for FY24, and I'll turn it over to Sue.
Okay. So FY24, we ended up with a little more money than we planned on. It was great, $26,000 more than we anticipated in surplus funds. We knew we were going to have surplus, but we got a little bit more than expected, and that's expected for tuition, right? We don't know who's coming or going during the year after we finalized this in January, so we ended up with a little lower expenditures in the instructional program than we planned on. So that surplus, that extra surplus gets rolled into that year-end number, which was voted to be transferred into the tax stabilization reserve. So we were able to move $340,000 into the tax stabilization reserve, replenishing that reserve over and above what we ended up setting aside for this year's budget. So that's good news. That's great. When we move on to packet page 7, and sort of that's the snapshot of all 3 years. And you can see when you look at the expenditures, we are expecting a little bit of a deficit this year. And again, it's our instructional program. We budgeted for, let's see, if we go to packet page, go to the tuition page, which is packet page 12. We budgeted for 204 students, 204.01. I think that's how it worked out. We ended up at, right now, we're anticipating 204.34. Not that big of a difference, but more costs. And basically that has to do with increased rates. So we budgeted across the board, remember correctly, a 3% increase in tuition rates and ended up with a state union average of 5% increase. So the state average was a lot higher than we anticipated it would come in at. We never know what that's going to be, and we do our best to ballpark it. It was a lot higher last year than it typically is. So 19,774 as opposed to the 19,200 that we budgeted for. And when you count that up amongst all of our students in general, that increases the cost, even though we're not seeing that kid count go up too much. I'm going to just stay on that page for a second to look at next year. Right now, 204 kids that we have right now, thinking about what that will look like for next year's program and estimating an average kindergarten class size, keeping those 15 new students that we keep in the budget every year, expecting that new enrollment, that keeps our enrollment at about 200. So if we go back to that summary page, packet page 8, right now, without including any increase for BBA's tuition rate, okay? So I've level funded it right now. Without including that, we're estimating about a 2.7% in voted budget increase. So we're going to expect that to go up a little bit. We don't have assessments built into this budget yet, the increases to assessments, because the BRSU budgets are not complete, and we don't have that BBA tuition rate. So we do expect that 2.7 to go up. I can't say by how much, but still that's, I think, a good start for us. We're
Mhm.
under 3% right now.
Mhm.
Couple questions.
Yes.
And I'm gonna start on packet page 7.
Yep.
I'm just trying to refresh my memory, the difference between budget anticipated and actual. Is budget what we passed at town meeting?
Correct.
Anticipated is like where we are at this point in time?
And when we're looking at FY '25, yes, it's where we expect to be at the end of the year based on what we know now.
Today, okay.
Right.
And then actual is how it shakes out.
Actually is how it shakes out. Yeah, where we landed.
Okay. Also on packet page 7, there's a 13% decrease in the pre-K early ed. Is that just because we're expecting fewer students or?
Yeah, so early ed is always a guess, and right now, what we typically do with budget for early ed is we budget based on actual, what's happening now. So the rate, what's happening now is less than what we budgeted, and so I use that kid count. We also don't have the rate in for early ed yet, so I have a ballpark in their estimate, but I don't know what it's gonna be. They should be announcing it anytime now. We usually have it by now. I think they're a little late with the early ed rate, but we'll definitely have it by the beginning of December. We usually get all of those numbers that we have to use in budgeting by the beginning of December.
So, and if we based it on like level kids, so to
Mhm.
speak, you know, you're building FY 26 based on what we
25.
currently have in FY 25.
Right.
Any additional students would come out of those 15 students that we're building into the budget?
No, yes in total, right? Because your budget is, the voted budget is a total figure. So when we think about it from a category standpoint, we're pre-K, we separate out pre-K, it's coded differently in the system. So I wouldn't necessarily pull it out of that 15, but when you think about it on a total basis, yes, it's part of all of the money. If we had to spend more money this year, it's going to increase that total anticipated number.
Okay.
We don't know, kids can move in that program, just like they do under the tuition program. We could begin to budget for ballpark of kids, but the per kid cost is so small for pre-K that I don't know that it's really worth it.
Okay.
Any other questions?
On packet page 8, line 33, ed spending, the 10.8% increase FY 26 over FY 25, is that just for the increased tuition rates?
So combination of 0.7%, the no application of surplus right now. That's $250,000 more to the ed fund. That's a
Oh, right.
big jump. That's just because we haven't had that conversation yet.
Yeah.
When we get to start, when we talk a little bit about tax rates, that's when we start to consider whether or not we want to drop in tax stabilization, and that will change that ed spending number. And then also we are anticipating a little bit of a deficit this year, and we have to raise that deficit next year. So that's also added into ed spending.
Okay.
So we'll have a little bit of a better handle on that when we meet next, when we start talking about tax rate.
Okay. Ina Meredith, do you have any questions? I don't want to take up all the space.
It's pretty straightforward at this point.
No, I'm good. Can you hear me okay? I'm at work. I don't know how good my connection is.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay.
I will mention that, because I haven't built this into your budget yet, but I just got an estimate from our Director of Transportation for the cost of a new bus has now
$75,000.
$135,000, Meredith.
Shut the front door, Sue.
And the back door too.
And the back door.
Wow.
What happened to $75,000?
Years ago, but the
I
last.
know, but I figured the cost of bus should stay relatively consistent, but no.
It's going to go up a little bit at a time, and I was shocked myself. I think the last bus we purchased for the system was around 92, I want to say. That was our last purchase, 92, 94, something like that.
Familiar. Yeah.
And that was for TNG last year. So I'm just shocked by it.
And
How
it's-
is 130,000? What do we, is this the yellow bus? Like, is this just a plain yellow bus?
This is a plain yellow bus. So
With
what
like cushion seats or like there's some,
What that
Sorry.
means for you guys is you can see we have, if we appropriate 25, we built that $25,000 appropriation on expecting buses to be around $100,000 range. And we know the plan was to replace your buses in FY '27. So not FY '26, but FY '27. So we don't have enough money to replace both of those buses in FY '27. What I've talked to Derek about is we shouldn't have a problem pushing one of those out. So maybe do one in '27 and one in '28, but still even
That's-
another 50,000 is just beneath that, right? If we keep it at 25. So we might want to raise it a little bit.
Okay.
So Derek and I will be talking about that. And so just so you know, I may bring a slightly larger appropriation in December's budget.
Okay.
Just out of curiosity, is that a brand new bus or is that used?
Brand new.
Got it.
can we get like a slightly used bus for less money? I mean,
Yeah.
Like, I'm being totally serious. Like, do we really need like a super brand new bus or?
Well, I think the reason for it is that the older the buses get, the more expensive they are to repair. Your repair budget is pretty high, even just for those two buses. You travel up and down that mountain in the winter, and so
Yeah.
it puts a lot of
We need like a fancy bus. I get it.
more so than just driving around town in Manchester might, right? And so those are the things I think Derek considers. He does buy used buses, so he definitely considers that, but he also, tries to get 10 years out of the bus. I don't know that yours lasts quite that long because of the wear and tear on the buses.
Mhm.
Then the miles that are being put on them as well. You're traveling pretty far to get to all the places you have to go to.
Yeah. And I wonder, I mean, in a perfect world, we'd sort of stagger that and not have like two buses and.
Yeah, it was because of
But-
when they were purchased, which is why he still wants to try to spread that out a little
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, but that's also why we do the reserve. It
Yeah.
shouldn't matter as long as we're projecting out
Yeah.
and collecting that money on an annual basis. That's the intention with the reserve.
So can I ask you a question? What happens to the old buses? Is there any resale value? Can we actually apply that onto the 130? I mean, there's got to be some value left to the
Yeah.
bus that we
And
can
he
then.
doesn't usually
apply.
start the bus unless we're doing it for a grant because we're getting rid of some, an old diesel or something like that. So, yeah, he will sell them and oftentimes he's doing a return to the dealer, right? The dealer takes that money off the top of the sale. So there could be some savings to that. What that will be though, we don't really know right now. And if you get it, obviously it goes right back against the sale of the bus and you would see that.
Okay, great. So at least we'll get something back on the $130,000 bus. That's expensive. I mean, that's expensive, no?
It is.
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
very
I was
expensive.
shocked.
We could buy like a McLaren for that. You can just whiz around. Sorry.
All right, anything else on the budget from anybody? Obviously, we'll have more numbers in December. We'll know the yield, we'll be able to look at tax rate. We can start getting into the meat of any areas that you can consider for adjustment at that point. That gives you a good sense of where you ended last year and where we are right now. So you've got, this is just a distribution, the financial management questionnaire. This is, been here for a while. It's great as always. Sue does an incredible job. So I don't know if you have any questions about that. Usually just the distribution, but
Yeah, no, thank you.
she's here. So good, strong fiscal agent of your finances.
Thanks, Sue.
So you got a whole bunch of, I think, superintendent
Monthly updates.
reports here. So I'm happy to, answer any questions you might have. You've got a lot in here. There's some really, really great things happening. I think the biggest topic of conversation is with TNG and the school reconfiguration discussion and potential closures in middle school. And we've had a lot of public forums. It's a very big topic within the community. And they'll be getting a proposal from me to talk about it probably next month. So I'll give them something to start to discuss. So I don't know. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer anything else that was in there, but it's more informational for you about things that are happening.
Yeah, the one thing I was looking at are the staffing positions, because I know that's a problem statewide.
It is.
Staffing, paras,
It's national.
bus drivers.
Special ed teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's national. And I don't know anybody who is not facing staffing issues from public school perspective.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're thinking as creatively as we can, and we continue to try to think creatively about how to manage it. But it's definitely a stress and a strain on the system.
Yeah, and for the people who are there, because it just
Totally.
puts more stress on them to fill in.
Absolutely. Yep. We've had a couple of people walk off the job, and those are things we never would have seen before.
Yeah.
Like literally, we didn't see it ever before.
No.
So
They just walked off the job?
yes.
Yeah. It's just hard to believe. It's so hard to believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, any other questions or comments? Okay. You've got your audit. This is from May. So I believe it is all pretty stellar.
Yep,
No
very straightforward,
findings. So again, thank you to Sue for that. I think that, again, it all comes from really strong fiscal management, and we are incredibly fortunate. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sue.
You're welcome.
You've got your work plan here as well. Obviously, not a lot that typically goes on. It's pretty, when it's quiet, it's quiet.
Yeah, it
We
really
like
is.
that. We really do.
Yeah, I'll take
Good.
quiet on Winhall right now.
Yeah, if we're getting rowdy, that usually means there's a big problem.
Oh, no, yes, and we've seen it not quiet. It's better when it's quiet, trust, yeah.
So we don't have a legislative or VSBA update in here. I think, certainly rumblings are that the legislative session is going to be very active,
Lively.
waiting for the report from the commission, and there's anticipated a lot of attention on education funding and finance. So I think I would be shocked if that wasn't true. I think there's a lot of activity, there's a lot of attention, and we will be paying attention to that. And I expect there to be some activity. I expect there'll be activity that probably board members might want to take. And we'll put on the agenda. I'm jumping to future agenda items, but I think it's helpful for every board to have a member who meets regularly. Dean's represented Winhall during the legislative session to just touch base about things that are happening. Jim's excellent at keeping people updated, but just a small group of BRSU board reps who can come together and discuss issues and topics. So we might want to put it on the next agenda for you to see if you want somebody to continue representing Winhall at those conversations.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I think we all know, but it's hard for people in other parts of the states to realize how different this part of the state is. We don't sort of fit the usual model. Even Winhall doesn't fit like the TNG model.
Right.
So I think it would be helpful to sort of help have that presence there.
Yeah. Yeah. And with us having 2 reps on the BSBA executive board, I think that's helpful too. They do a good job of making sure that our communities are represented and different perspectives are provided to those conversations. So I think that's helpful. So. All
And I
right.
do think we're expecting a tax increase for FY26. That seems pretty clear.
Sure.
Yeah, we're working really hard to keep our budgets increases as low as possible. We're doing, across the board, from the SU budget to all the district budgets, wherever we can control and contain costs, we are. You have an unusual situation because of, tuitioning everybody. We have far fewer levers, but across the board, we're really, really, really scrutinizing our budgets and in a way we've never done before. At a depth we haven't, because I think the pressure is very real. And I think that if we have another year where we're looking at 10% increases, the state will not respond favorably, and understandably so. So.
Okay.
All right.
I really appreciated that email you sent out with the breakdown on that the state put out on how they figure everything out.
That was
I thought
actually
that was
incredibly helpful. Yeah.
really, really helpful. And it's great to have that so I can give it to other people too.
Yeah, it is a great document. I'm glad to hear you read it. I think it also, there's a lot of very helpful and valuable information. And frankly, for Randy Lowe's perspective, I think it's starting to signal what we can anticipate being discussed in the future. So I think we should read it, especially that whole last section, with an eye to what are levers that might be pulled, what are actions that might be taken in order to start containing some costs. So
Yeah.
I'm saying that to everybody because that's my perspective, but I'm sharing it. So.
Well, and I think it's really helpful to get like these reports from the agency, because we haven't had reports like this for a
Totally.
very, very, very long time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it is getting, I think from superintendents and from school boards, it's being really positively received. So.
I know that there were some data
Yep.
issues with the first go round, but have those been corrected?
Yeah, so we had quite a few errors in our data, and the concern was that the commission was receiving data, and I know we weren't alone, where the data wasn't accurate, and you're trying to make really important decisions. And the data is good. I think it's awesome that you're starting to get data. We just want to make sure it's accurate. So yeah, the AOE asked for feedback, and we just got an updated spreadsheet on Friday, right?
Yeah.
End of day on Friday. Sue and I were looking at it end of day Friday and over the weekend, and it looks much better. I got an email follow-up from the AOE today. I think today, maybe, I don't know, actually. Sometime between Friday and today. Oh, today's Tuesday. I think yesterday, right? Today's Tuesday? Yesterday,
All day.
I got the email and checking in to see, did I look at it? Does it look better? Does it look like things are addressed? So I appreciate that too. That level of follow-up is not something we've had before. And I said that at first glance and review, it looked good. We hadn't gotten into some of the real details, but it looked like it represented our system much more accurately. So.
Excellent.
They had a deadline for tomorrow of that, didn't they? It was kind of a ridiculous ask.
Well, I said it looks good, and we'd let her know by the beginning of next week if we had questions.
Okay.
If there was anything that we needed to fix. Yeah, I said by the beginning of next week.
Right.
Because I think the agency's planning to release the next round of data by the 22nd,
yeah,
which is
that's
Thursday.
Right, which is why they gave everybody, but to throw it out at
This
people and say, is
Thursday?
this right?
Oh.
Give us an answer by Wednesday when they put it out Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
It's a little bit much.
Especially.
It was really hard to not say that email.
Yeah.
But it looks better anyway.
Yeah,
so anyway. So if we don't have anything else, we can make a motion to go into executive session.
Yeah, and then just for next meeting, we're gonna have more budget.
Yep.
I guess my thought is, because I know we need to write our letter, I will probably wait until after our December meeting
Yeah.
when we have more
So.
information and then crank it out.
Yeah, I mean, we don't usually ask for that letter until January.
Early
right?
January.
Yeah, so you can start it, but remember that things still may change before the January meeting.
Well, and even
We have
last year,
CLA
things changed
come in, so.
after I wrote the letter.
And
Right.
yes, I hope we don't go through something like that.
It was
It's
terrible.
So yeah, okay. I don't have anything else.
All right.
This will take us to our executive session. So I will move that we go into executive session per 1 VSA
Second.